Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the Flossi podcast. We finally made it back for episode 3. I'm so sorry for how long this has taken to get out. The truth is I've actually recorded this is the third time I recorded it. Between having literally no time to record at the moment and then a few different technical issues. It's now a good way through March and we're only just having episode 3 and actually the first episode of 2021. So yeah, I'm so sorry. Not that I'm assuming anyone's waiting with bated breath for episode 3, but I really enjoyed putting the first 2 episodes out and I especially enjoyed chatting with you in the comments. So please don't take this as how I'm going to be doing it from now on. I'd really like to get an episode out at least once per month if I'm able to. So that's kind of the schedule I'm going to try and keep to. But anyway, we finally made it back for episode 3. It's taken me so long as well because after Christmas we got back. We managed to get up to my in-laws and we got back here, and even though I'd done a ton of knitting on a bunch of different things, I was kind of at similar points because there was a lot of stockinette going on because I was knitting a lot of sweaters. It didn't feel like anything super different or exciting to chat with you about, and I didn't want to bore you. So I thought, I'll wait another week or so until there's something a little bit more to share. And I thought, I'm sure other people have done the same. Oh, I'll start back at work, but it won't be that busy. It'll be fine. And then of course it was super busy and I've had literally no time since then and now, other than the 2 other failed attempts at filming, to actually sit down and record the podcast. So anyway, excuses over with. I'm really happy to be back here and sitting down with you for another little woolly chat. If this is your first time here, my name is Claire. I am a knitter and designer of nice things, is how I like to think of it. I like to make lots of things and I also design my own knitwear. I'm right on cue. I promise I didn't plan that. This is my other little, my little furry partner in crime who likes to sit and knit with me. Well, she doesn't knit, she just chews on the wool a little bit, but she's got a lot better at that. This is Tilly. A lot of you are asking after the last episodes exactly what kind of a dog she is. She's a Nova Scotian Ducktola. And yeah, she's going to be 3 next month. And she's pretty good. She's a pretty good little knitting companion. So yeah, this is us. This is the Flossi podcast. Tilly, as you can tell, likes to cuddle in and have a lap. So if this is your first time here, you can expect to see quite a bit of Tilly because she is not camera shy. And I apologise in advance if she woofs. She's a woofer. It's just how it is. So yeah, what are you going to do? But let's crack on, because the whole point of this is to chat about wool and knitting, and elephant in the room before Tilly kind of blocked it up here is, as you can tell, I finally finished my Fern and Feather. I finished it a little while ago actually, and I've been really rubbish about getting finished photos and getting them on Instagram and things like that because I've just not had much time lately, but I've been wearing it to death. I absolutely love it. I'm going to try and keep it on throughout this podcast, but even though it was minus 17 overnight last night, the sun's come out and it's really hot in the house and we've had the wood stove going, so I'm going to try and keep it on, but I'm getting a little warm, so if I have to like throw it off at some point, I will, but hopefully I'll be able to keep it on because I love it so much. My final thoughts about my Fern and Feather and my FO is I absolutely love it, but I thought I'd give you a few little rundowns of exactly how I followed the pattern and if I did any mods and how it's fitting. I'm going to insert what I'm going to assume is going to be a slightly awkward video of me modelling it. So hopefully right now you're seeing me wearing my Fern and Feather and you can see exactly how it's fitting. So I knit this pattern exactly as written, apart from one mod which I'll share in a moment, which is something very minor. And I also added a little bit of extra length at the yoke just because I always find I need that. I've got quite a long torso and I like a little bit extra length in the yoke. But other than that, I knit it exactly as stated in the pattern. which also involves waist shaping. Now, waist shaping is something that I normally miss out because I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it for me. I tend to like things to fit more boxy, and I don't have a lot of waist definition anyway, which might make you think that I probably would want to add it in to give myself a little bit more of that shape, but I like things to fit a little looser, and I wear a lot of high-waisted pants and things, so I don't know, I kind of like a more crop boxy look. But as I mentioned in my other podcast episodes, I purposely knit the sweater because I wanted something fun to wear when I was taking Tilly for a walk. I have a lot of I'm not a very outdoorsy person. Don't get me wrong, I like being outdoors. In terms of outdoor exercise wear, it's not really my thing. All the things I've got is because my partner's been like, you need something to wear outdoors, so he's ended up just buying it and giving it to me. So it's not really my kind of style, so I wanted to be woolly Claire when I was out walking Tilly, so that's why I end up going for the waist shaping, because it gets very cold here in Nova Scotia, which is where we are, if I didn't mention that before. And if I want to wear this under my jacket, I didn't want all that extra bulk, so I went for the waist shaping, and I'm really happy with how the fit turned out. It's a little longer than the sweaters I normally knit, but that makes it all the cozier, and it's been a great project from start to finish, and I'm definitely planning another one at some point that I quite like to do without the waist shaping, which would be more of a cozy in the house or going out whenever we can go out again, if I was going out for a pub meal or something. And I kind of like to try it with a fluffier yarn. But yeah, so that's my summary of my Fern and Feather. If I haven't mentioned already, the yarn I used this time around was BC Garn Hamilton No. 1, which is a lovely yarn. It's 100% wool, and I've loved working with it. It's been perfect for colour work, and I would definitely use it again. The only mod that I've done for my Fern and Feather is I decided to make it even cozier by doing folded sleeves, the folded cuffs. I'm really glad I did them now. I'm super happy with how it turned out. But it took me forever. I swear, the sleeves and the cuffs took me probably longer. I think the cuff section took me longer than both sleeves altogether because I just got bored to tears of doing the twisted rib. But I'm so glad I did them now. I'm really happy about them. But it's going to be a little while before you see me doing folded cuffs because it was a nightmare. Does anyone else have that issue with a 1x1 twisted rib? Oh, I love the look of it, but oh god, to actually knit is an absolute pain sometimes. So another little note that I thought I'd share with you about this project that you might find interesting, and you might find that you have the same issue that I do, is I actually had to re-knit the sleeves twice because I knit them first using the exact same needle that I'd used for the yoke, except this time I was doing it with magic loop instead of in the round. And as I was knitting the sleeve, I thought my gauge looks a little tighter than it does on the yoke, which is kind of strange because normally your colour work is tighter than your plain stockinette. But for me, I was kind of like, but never mind, I thought it'll be fine, it'll block fine. And I got to trying it on, and oh, it was snug. I was really annoyed. I should have tried it on sooner because I got down right to the forearm. And I think that's a problem that I've had a lot, that I just don't think I was smart enough to cotton on earlier on, that there was something funky going on my gauge. I actually knit a tighter gauge on smaller circumferences compared to larger circumferences. So if you've made sweaters and you've tried them on and you think, ooh, my sleeves are a little bit snug, but your thought doesn't really go much beyond that, like I've done for years apparently, It might be worth checking and just seeing that maybe you have the same issue that I do, that when you knit on small circumferences, for some reason you just really tighten up. I had the same problem with a sweater I knit that was my own design for Reggie, and I had to re-knit the sleeves on that as well, and I thought it was because I was using a wool and spun yarn, and that tends to, I find that ladders more when you do magic loop, just because it's not as elastic. And I thought it's because I was pulling it tighter at the edges to try and stop that laddering. But no, I just knit tighter on small circumferences. So it might be something to look out for if you're having a similar issue. So I thought I'd just mention it in case. But yeah, that is my Fern and Feather. I'm so happy. I've worn it tons on walks with Tilly, and it's been the perfect winter walking sweater. And I'll definitely be making another one whenever I have a spare moment. That also leads us on to Chris's Fern and Feather, which if you watch the other podcast episode, you know that I'm also knitting a version of this sweater for my husband, because he spied mine and was like, ooh, I fancy that. So unfortunately, Chris's sweater is not at the same place that my sweater is in anything. I've kind of gone backwards on it a little bit. I had a problem with the fit, and we'll get to that in a moment. This is Chris's sweater so far, and not that long ago it was most of the body done and part of one sleeve, and a little bit of the other sleeve was done. I did it all in kind of different stages because I wanted to get it on him to see if it fit, because I had all suspicion that something funky was going on, and unfortunately I was right. I got it on him and it was kind of strange. There was right here where it was fitting across his chest, and he's quite broad. There was like a lot of extra fabric right here. It was really puckering up, and the sleeves fit, but the sleeves could also have like a little bit more room in them, and the yoke wasn't quite, there was basically everything was kind of like slightly off, and I considered just blocking it out, but I kind of knew that there was enough funky about it that I wasn't going to be super happy with it, with the fit. And I want him to wear it for a long time and for him to be really comfy in it. He always goes into the woods, he likes to do a lot of hammock camping, and in the winter he wears the other sweater I made him all the time, and he sleeps in it, and so you want it to be comfy. I didn't want it to be restrictive or anything, so it got ripped way back, right back up to the colourwork, and I redid the short row sectioning. I didn't want to, it almost felt like there was too much fabric in the yoke, although it was to gauge and it was the right chest size for him. So what I realised, with the help of some very much smarter than me knitting buddies, Marina Skewer, I'm looking at you, and Hannah-Lisa Haverkamp, both, I had a little chat with them, and we realised that this was probably going to be a problem because, as you probably know, most knitting patterns are written to standard sizing, and that's either men's standard sizing or women's standard sizing, which doesn't cover a lot of individual body types at all. I mean, it's kind of how it has to be a lot of the time. And I know this pattern was definitely written with women's standard sizing in mind. So apparently what that means is there's always going to be a larger bust ratio to upper arm ratio, which completely makes sense because the pattern's allowing for possible breasts and all the rest of it. So what I did was I ripped all the way back and I redid the short rows on the yoke, and then I tried it on Chris and basically looked around and kind of pinched in the fabric where I thought it should be going and what should be in the arms, and I measured it against his other sweater that I knit for him to see how it was landing with that, because I know that's a really good fit, and I think we're there with it. I put more stitches in the sleeve and I took some out of the body area, and I also cast on less stitches under the arm just to pull it in ever so slightly, and I added a little bit more depth in the yoke. So hopefully next time I speak to you there will be a full Fern and Feather that actually fits Chris done. I'm afraid it won't be quite ready for his winter camping season, which, even though we have snow on the ground right now, spring is definitely around the corner. I can kind of feel it in the air, which is exciting. But yeah, but for next year it's going to be great, and you know, they call it slow making for a reason, which is good because I'm very slow. But it's going to be good. Once it's done, it's going to be really good. But I'll be honest with you, I had to take a little break. Once I realised we were ripping it all back, it got ripped back and then left for a little while, and I might have cast something else on for myself in between, which I'm going to show you now because I'm really excited about it. But it's another Stockinette sweater again. I'll be honest, I'm excited about this sweater, but I'm starting to get a little bit over Stockinette for a while after being on such a Stockinette knitting thing. And here we go. And I absolutely love the colour. Yellow is my absolute favourite colour. I like all shades pretty much, not super orangey shades sometimes, but yeah, I love this. This is ochre, and this is Knitting for Olive merino, double soft merino. And it's a beautiful yarn. I've never used this kind of yarn before. It's like a chain construction, and it makes a really interesting fabric because it makes quite a flat fabric, which I'm not used to. I usually use very bouncy yarns, and this one isn't, I wouldn't describe it as bouncy at all, but it's really cozy feeling, and yeah, a little bit different to anything that I've used before, and I'm really excited about it. So I decided to use a pattern that I've knit before, which is a vanilla heirloom sweater by Sustainabilist Co. I love that pattern because it's top down raglan and it has compound raglan increases, which means, as opposed to traditional raglan increases where everything kind of happens straight away and then you work straight, the increases happen at different rates for the sleeve and the body across the yoke, so it kind of creates this curve. Let me see if I can show you by holding this up. Tilly is completely gone to sleep and has got really heavy. I feel bad moving her. I know, I'm terrible. But oh, that did it. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see there, but it kind of creates like a curve that follows your body a little bit more naturally than a traditional raglan. I like both personally. I quite like a traditional raglan fit too. But there's something kind of fun about doing it like this, and I've knit this pattern before. I actually think I wore, did I wear the sweater in episode 2? I might have done. I'll have to check. I'll check and see if I wore it. But the fit is perfect for me in it. So, and it's a really cool pattern in that it's written for 5 different gauges. So if you've got a sweater's quantity of yarn, you can basically do a swatch, see where your gauge is at, and then pick in the pattern where what you follow, the instructions to follow, basically. It's super cool. I'll also put the link for that below as well if you want to check it out. But I actually have some special plans for that sweater. I'm not going to keep it just as stockinette. I'm going to use it to have a little play around with duplicate stitch. And that's something I've never done before, so I'm kind of excited. If you don't know what duplicate stitch is, it's basically, no, you quit that. It's basically you go in and it's an embroidering technique. It's also really good for mending knitwear and for reinforcing areas of knitwear, and you literally stitch into it and it imitates the knit stitch, and you can create some really fun like different colourwork patterns in there, which I'm really excited to do because I love colour work. But sometimes I always think it'd be fun to just do it in like small isolated areas, and I've never really tried intarsia. I find it a little bit confusing and scary. I need to try it at some point, but it's not something I've ever tried, and I thought this might be a good way of starting to play around and kind of decorate my knits a little bit more, because I do knit a lot of plain basic things, because I just really like that. I know that's what I wear the most in my wardrobe, and I can really focus on getting the fits with those ones. So yeah, I just have a lot of those kind of things hanging around. So I thought if I start playing around with that, then if I do want to add some little, personalised details to things, I can start doing it with duplicate stitch, and it'll get my mending skills a little bit better, because I'm starting to get a lot of knits that need mending, because I've been wearing them a lot, especially during lockdown. I used to wear my knits only when I went out for like special things, which I can kind of see because I find them really special, but I was not wearing them, which was really sad. So I've been wearing them in the house all the time, and for the multiple Skype and Zoom things I'm sure everyone's got going on at the moment. So yeah, so I've got some mending piling up, so I'm going to get to that soon and hopefully be using my newly acquired duplicate stitch skills, if that's even a thing. So because I took my sweet time getting episode 3 recorded, one thing I realised the other day that I wasn't able to share with you was the launch of my hat pattern Dottie, which I showed you in episode 1 and 2, I think. And it's this hat right here. So yeah, you like Dottie, don't you? Tilly loves a pom-pom. I have to watch you with the pom-poms. Ooh, by the way, a lot of people were asking me where I got my hat stands from. This is actually a wig stand. I found it on Amazon, and I thought that'd be awesome for putting my hats on, and it's really handy for blocking hats out as well. And I absolutely love them. They're just plastic. It'd be lovely to have some wood ones at some point, but honestly I looked for those and couldn't afford them. So I went for these ones, and was also doubly excited when I realised they are the exact same wig stands that Moira Rose has in Schitt's Creek for her wigs, just in black. So I was super excited with them when I found that out. So if you're looking for some hat stands, they're really cool and really easy to put together. So, but back to the hat. Oh, Tilly's asleep on it. Get off that. So if you haven't seen it before, this is Dottie. I released this, oh god, I think it was a month ago now. And I absolutely love how it turned out. And if you follow me on Instagram or on my newsletter, you'll have seen that I released it, and I did a little coupon code to celebrate for everyone who wanted to buy it. And I just felt a little bit bad that I hadn't done the same for on YouTube. So I realised spring has pretty much sprung everywhere but here. And you probably are not in need of a worsted weight hat at the moment, but if you had your eye on it from the last episode and you've been wanting to purchase a copy of your own, I felt a little bit unfair not to have a little coupon code for on here as well. So I'll pop the link below. I've created a coupon code for 20% off. So if you were looking to buy this pattern and you missed the actual release of it because I'm useless, then you can still get the same 20% off that everyone else did who follows me on Instagram or in the newsletter. And yeah, I'm still really happy. I've worn this hat a lot too. All the details are below for that. And yeah, feel free to go grab your copy if you want one. If you've got any questions about that, just let me know in the comments below or by email. And yeah. That is Dottie. So I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get an episode out to celebrate the actual release, because I was really happy with how Dottie turned out. And I actually have plans of doing another little sister pattern to go with Dottie, because I have another skein of Predo Delana's Oveus yarn, which is what the yellow is in, because I think it could make a really nice one colour version of this pattern too. with the moss stitch continuing up to the brim. So I'm going to be working on that whenever I get a free moment. So yeah, that's another thing to look out for. So that is Dottie. Tilly decided it was time to go upstairs and have a nap. So she's pretty smart, and it is the weekend. I'm filming this on a Saturday, so she's having a lazy day. But speaking of hats, I actually have another FO to show you, which I'm really happy about because, as I mentioned, I've not had a ton of time lately, so knitting time has kind of been a little bit sporadic, and I've been working on a new pattern which I got off the needles just this morning. Me and Tilly were sat watching old episodes of Gardener's World because I was feeling homesick. And I actually managed to finish the brim on my new hat pattern using Marina Score's Mendip 4-ply. I'm going to link the information about that yarn below. I think I showed you it in the skein when I just received it in episode 2. And it's exactly everything I imagined it was going to be to work with. I've absolutely loved knitting with this yarn. It's woolly and gorgeous, and the colour is just beautiful. This is the teal, and it's Marina has 2 bases in the Mendip. One is the sunny base and one's the stormy. So the stormy natural colour is a blend of grey and white, and the sunny is just white. So she dyes the same colours but on the 2 bases, so for each colourway. So for teal there's a sunny version and a stormy version, which I think is just awesome. It's so much fun, and I'm a huge fan of yarns dyed on like a grey background because they give it such a beautiful heathered colour with lots of depth in it. And as soon as I saw the teal version of the stormy, I was like, I need that one. So that's the colourway I went with, and when it arrived it reminded me so much of the Christmas tree because the tree was up last time I was speaking about it. And I got an idea for a pattern, this pattern, and it still has all the ends ready to be woven in because I literally just got off the needles this morning. But now you can see the pattern there. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's a single brim hat, which I think is kind of perfect for going into spring. I'm not normally a big fan of single brim hats just because I like the coziness of having the turned up brim, but for this time of year it works really well. And also it's a great opportunity for doing kind of like a fun little detail going into the pattern. I've messed with the brim a lot. I ripped the brim back, was it 3 times, just because I couldn't quite get the decreasing as I wanted to, but I think we're finally there now. It just needs a really good block. So next time I speak to you, hopefully I'll have some good FO photos of this done. I'm really loving the colour though. It's so much fun. I'm going to be wearing this a lot. I know it. I think I'm on the fence about adding a pom-pom. I have enough yarn left from 150 gram skein of Marina's Mendip 4-ply to make a pom-pom, which means you can knit this hat in 150 gram skein. So this is going to be probably the larger size as well because I've got quite a big head. So I made it in the larger one, and it fits really snugly and it's really stretchy. But it's also going to be a good quick knitting project, and if you only got like one little skein of yarn, it's going to be quite fun. So I'm really happy with it. I don't know if I'm going to add a pom-pom or not. I do really like a pom-pom, but they always get in the way of my hood, and rainy season's going to start coming up with spring, so I'm going to have my hood up a lot. But we'll see. Let me know, do you think a pom-pom or no pom-pom? I'd love your advice. So it's really simple. It's a tubular cast on. No, it's not a tubular cast on. I did the alternative cable cast on, which looks a lot like a tubular cast on, but it isn't, and it's a lot easier. So if you're looking for a cast on that's quite stretchy, it's very stretchy actually, but has that nice neat edge, then Google alternative cable cast on. There we go. Because it's my favourite cast on ever, and I use it all the time. And I've used it in this hat with a half twisted rib. Can you tell I designed this after knitting these? I was like, I know I want twisted stitches, but I don't want to do a 2x2, a full twisted ribbed thing. You know what I mean. I didn't want to do it. It was making me mad. So we ended up with a single brim. And then it kind of goes into these twisted stitches here, and the ribbing continues up. And we have like a little bobble, and then it's literally just rows of twisted stitches, sorry. I've not explained this very well. Hopefully the photos and what you can see will explain it a lot better than I am. But I'm really happy about it. I'm going to get that blocked this afternoon and try and get some photos up to share on Instagram. And I just love everything about it. I shouldn't say that about I know I can say about my own patterns. I really love it, and the yarn's just absolutely beautiful. So, yay. So I'll be putting out a test knit call for that hopefully soon. It's a really, really busy week at work this week, so I don't think I'll have a huge amount of brain space to be able to write the pattern properly. I've kind of got the bones of it down, and it's a really simple pattern with a very simple stitch repeat, so it shouldn't be too bad to write up at all. But I'll probably put out a test knit call next week maybe. I have an email list for test knitters, which I'll link below in case anyone's interested. And normally I'll put the test knit call out on there first, and if I get enough people, I'll leave it at that. But then if I need extra testers, I'll normally post it on Instagram too. So those are the two places you can look for test. If you're ever interested in doing a test knit for me, or you see a pattern on here and you're like, ooh, I kind of like to cast that on sooner than what the release date's going to be, then feel free to look in those two places. And I'd love to have you on board as a test knitter. I love anyone who's willing to knit my patterns for me, to check them out. I'm always so grateful. So yeah, so that's the hat. Not got a name yet. I'm also terrible at coming up with names, so please feel free if you've got an idea for a good one. And I can't wait to share that with you when it's properly ready to be launched. Well, that's all my knits so far. Like I said, I haven't had a ton of time to do any real knitting, which is a shame. I'm hoping that changes in the next couple of weeks because I have some wool arriving. I had wool arrive the other day that I will share with you next time for a new design that I'm going to be collaborating with Rachel from Tangle Yarns, which is an online knitting shop back in the UK, really close to where I grew up, actually in Stockport. But I'm going to save that and show you the yarn for that next time, because hopefully I'll have swatched by then, and you'll get a better sense of what I'm planning on doing with the pattern. And I actually have a lot of design plans. I've just not had the time to put them in place, but hopefully soon. And so hopefully in the next episode I'll have some more fun things to show you design wise, and yeah, just a little bit more time to spend on Flossi, which is what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for. One thing that I'm tentatively planning to do, which actually came about because of some of the comments from the last couple of podcasts, looking at maybe doing some tutorial videos. It's something that I've been thinking of on and off for some time, but there's so many tutorial videos online that I've always wondered if me adding any to it are going to be any help to people, if it'd be a waste of time to do them. But I got quite a few people asking me how I knit the bobbles on Dotty, and I think I mentioned the alternative cable cast on a few times before, and things like a tubular bind off, just little things like that I like to use in my patterns. And I was thinking it'd be really nice to be able to have video content for people if you did buy my pattern and there's techniques like that in there that you're not really sure of. I thought it'd be nice to be able to have a video to show exactly how I do it. Because sometimes it's all very well saying, oh, just Google it, but all knitters and designers kind of can do things slightly different sometimes. So if you're looking at a sample photo and you want the thing that you're making to look very similar to that, sometimes it's nice to have those videos to support the actual pattern, is what I'm thinking. So please let me know if you think that's a good idea, if you think that'll be helpful. I wouldn't do it as you could only see the video if you bought a pattern. It'd be available to everyone, I think. So I've not worked out all the details yet, but it's kind of in the early stages, and I'd quite like to give that a go sooner rather than later if I'm going to try it. So I guess we'll see. That's just something I've kind of been thinking of that I'd like to do with Flossi. So let me know if you think that'd be a good idea. And yeah, I'm excited to have a little bit more time to spend designing and working on Flossi things and taking more photos. Hopefully this setup, I've got a slightly different setup today as well for the podcast, so hopefully this is working okay too, and I can keep making video content because I really enjoy doing it. Next time, hopefully I'll be back again with a video next month. I actually have some really exciting news that I can share with you briefly now, although I don't really have as much to show you about it, so I wasn't going to mention it, but I'm kind of excited about it, so I'm going to mention it. And that is that I've got a pattern coming out is it being published this month? Yes, pre-orders have already opened. I did a design for a publication last year. I was knitting the sample up in August, I think, so it feels like forever ago that I was working on it, but it was kind of a secret project because I couldn't really talk about it. But now they've just released pre-orders. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. Anyway, if you've heard of Liner, they have a lovely magazine and they also publish books. Actually, so they did 52 Weeks of Socks, which is a book they published last year, which is a beautiful book, just full of sock patterns, 52 of them to be precise. And they've done a follow-up book, 52 Weeks of Shawls, and I have a design in there and I'm super excited about it. I haven't really been able to tell anyone for a really long time, although I think it was funny, I emailed all my test knitters for it the other day saying, hey, the secret shawl project is not so secret anymore, I can tell you where it's from, and they were all kind of like, yeah, I kind of guessed that that's where it was from, so well. So I still thought I was keeping a really good secret, but never mind. But yeah, I've got a pattern in 52 Weeks of Shawls. By the time I record the next podcast, fingers crossed, I will have both the sample returned to me because they're sending that on its way. They can't do trunk shows because of COVID, so they return the samples back to the designers early, and I should have a copy of the book to be able to show you too. So I'm really excited about it. This is my first time getting anything published with Liner. So I'm just really excited. I've not even seen a photo of it yet, so it's still in very early stages, but pre-orders have opened. I'll put the link to the website below so you can check out the publication and some of the photos they've put up there so far. And yeah, hopefully next time I see you, I'll be able to show you the shawl and show you the book. And hopefully it won't be in 3 months' time and I've got my bum moving to be able to record a little bit more often. And on that note, I'm gonna go and make a coffee and maybe work a little bit more on my yellow sweater, I think, and block out my hat and spend a little bit of time doing some woolly things. If you are still here with me at the end of this video, thank you so much for hanging around and spending a little bit of time talking about wool and knitting, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit like. If you really didn't like it, feel free to give it a big thumbs down as well. And if you enjoyed the content, you could always subscribe, but please don't feel like you have to. I'll be here And I will see you next time with no doubt an appearance from Tilly again. And have a great rest of March if I don't speak to you before then. And if you want to see what I'm up to until the next podcast, you can also find me on Instagram and the links below, or you can sign up for my newsletter. But yeah, I think that's everything. I'm going to go and spend a little bit of time knitting. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in. Bye!